I am a hiring manager at a tech company and I was hiring for summer internships a little while ago. We had a guy, about 19 years old, applying for a summer internship between his freshman and sophomore years of college. It was a virtual interview over Zoom because of COVID. A minute or two in, when I was introducing myself, his mom came in and introduced herself and started talking about her son's work ethic. I thought it was a little strange. I said something polite about wanting to hear from him. She just didn't get the hint and kept coming into camera frame during the interview and interrupting her son to answer questions for him. I asked a few technical questions which he seemed to answer well and then cut the interview fairly short. I thought that was all over and done with until I'd gotten an email from a woman, a month later, asking about her son's application. She seemed offended he hadn't gotten an acceptance or rejection. It bothered me. I felt bad for the kid honestly. Way back when I was a teenager, my mom used to pull the same shit. But luckily she only did that when I was 15 and working for a day camp. Not when I was an adult applying for engineering jobs. But I felt like this poor kid was getting his chances ruined because his mom wasn't giving him the chance to apply on his own. I sent an email back saying I was not at liberty to send information about an application to anybody but the applicant. I also asked HR to send an email to the kid saying sorry, but we were not making him an offer. It is something we usually do, but his rejection email must have slipped through the cracks with all the COVID craziness. Anyway, after we sent that, I got a phone call from his mom. She had a forwarded copy of the email, and she was demanding answers. I said that I could not comment on the guy's performance in the interview to her as she was not the applicant. If he wanted to reach out to me, I was happy to give him some feedback. However, I could say that regardless of his performance, her presence in the interview took him out of consideration for the position. We were looking for an independent and self-driven person for the position, and for that reason, it is important to see an applicant speak for themselves, follow up themselves, etc. I also said that, as a piece of advice, every hiring manager I've met in my career who sees someone other than the applicant answering questions during an interview, following up on the applicant's behalf, etc., would also put their resume in the do not hire pile. Since, while the applicant may be skilled and motivated, they need the ability to demonstrate those traits themselves. She blew up at me over that, kinda cussing me out to the point where I hung up. I recently won an all-expense-paid trip to Disney World for 4 nights, for myself and 3 guests. I am currently planning on bringing my boyfriend, my mother, and my boyfriend's mother. I know we all aren't exactly Disney's key demographic, but it honestly means a lot to our mothers that I am inviting them. Both my boyfriend and I grew up in poorer families that could never afford expensive vacations. And this is the first trip to Disney World for all of us. I know this is probably the only opportunity our mothers will ever have to go to Disney. And for now they are both in good enough health to still enjoy the rides. The problem is with my cousin, Jane, who has been hounding me to take her 5-year-old daughter, Kelly, instead of my boyfriend's mother. I know, what kind of monster am I for not wanting to bring a little girl to the place where dreams come true? Except Jane's family has already been to Disney World twice, most recently earlier this year in February. My cousin has done very well for herself. She runs a successful photography business, and her husband is an engineer. They are definitely able to afford their own vacations. If Jane wasn't so well off, I probably would consider taking Kelly if I thought I was giving a little kid a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But I'm not. She's already been twice and she's only 5. Our mothers have been 0 times. Jane's only rationale for wanting me to take her daughter seems to be that Disney is meant for kids. It's weird to go with only adults. And it'd be evil to not take a 5-year-old to Disney if you had the chance. There's also the issue of Kelly herself. She's not a completely terrible child, but she's whiny and throws tantrums regularly. I don't really want to spend a week with that. Also, what if she gets homesick? What if she gets actually sick? What if she gets lost? I'm not a parent myself and I would have no idea what to do in those situations. I also don't want to saddle my mother with the responsibility of caring for her. I babysat Kelly before, but only for a few hours at a time. I'm not sure why my cousin is even comfortable with the idea of me taking her child 3 states away. We are in North Carolina, so it's not like Orlando is just a short drive down the road if something happens. I tried telling Jane I'm not comfortable bringing Kelly, and she just said this is a good opportunity to find out what being a parent is like. What? She's almost acting like I'm not serious about not bringing Kelly, and I'm just pretending I don't want to bring her. It's really weird. Jane and I have always been very close, like we are sisters. And I'm afraid this has the potential to ruin our relationship once it comes to a head. What is the best way to tell her no without sounding like an evil child hater, or am I being selfish for not taking a kid to Disney? My brother lost his job along with all his savings several months ago, and soon after he asked me if it would be okay if he and his wife stayed with me until they could afford their own place again. I hesitated at first, considering I only have a one-bedroom apartment, but according to them they had no other options, so of course I invited them over and bought a blow-up mattress for the living room. For the first month things were manageable, although admittedly cramped. Then my brother told me that sleeping on the mattress was giving him back pains. So he asked if he could buy a small double bed for the living room. The living room is by far the biggest room I have, so I told him that would be fine as long as there was still room for my couch, TV, bookshelves. The living room is also connected to my kitchen in an open plan style. So I reminded my brother to leave walking space around the bed. It's now been 2 months and things have gotten a lot worse. When they first moved in, I would still use the living room every day to unwind on the couch after work. Now whenever I go in, there's a strange vibe like I'm intruding. My brother and his wife are often sitting in bed together when I go in. I always knock and stare at me pointedly until I leave. Sometimes when I sit down they will directly ask me for some alone time and say they would like the room to themselves. This came to a head yesterday when my sister-in-law messaged me with a timetable she'd made of when it would be a good time for me to use the living room. The timetable basically says that they will allow me into the room for an hour each evening, plus 20 minutes around meal times. I basically shut her down instantly and told her there was no way I'd be following the timetable since in the end it's my apartment. She sent me back a huge message with a dozen paragraphs about how my constant presence was ruining her marriage with my brother and they feel like they have no privacy. I tried to talk this over with my brother that night, but when I got home neither my brother //SIL were talking to me. So he's clearly just as pissed. Today an Amazon parcel arrived for my brother with a lock for the living room door, which I told him there's absolutely no way I will allow him to install. My brother says I'm creepy for wanting constant access to where they sleep and he's insisting on installing the lock anyway. I have 3 children, the oldest being 16M. For my birthday last week my son went out and bought me this swinging hammock chair that I had been wanting for 2 years and it cost him quite a bit of his saved money, which I fully intend to put back into his bank account so he can continue saving. He was so excited to see me open this gift and couldn't wait to help me set it up. I told him he shouldn't have, that it was a lot of money and his response was, "You never get anything nice. I wanted you to have it." And it was true. I usually don't get anything for my birthday or Christmases outside of Tupperware or soaps. So it might sound stupid but I have cherished this swing ever since he got it for me. Especially where I finally have something nice that's mine. My sister-in-law comes over once a week to see all of us and she immediately headed straight for my swing, which my son hooked up on our deck. I told her to please not sit on it and she said, "Is there a weight limit?" So I told her yes, 250 pounds, and I even showed her the box to confirm. She was not upset about this. She just said that's a bummer. They need to make something capable of holding us big girls. I simply agreed with her and went about my business. At this point my husband shows up from work. When I went inside to grab us some drinks, her and my husband are talking on the porch and not even 5 minutes later I hear a loud crash. I go out and sure enough she had sat in my swing and the crochet netting around the hook snapped on one side, causing her to fall right on her ass. She is sitting there laughing, gets up and says, "I guess I need to learn to listen." So I lost it. As I said above, I literally never get anything nice. Never. This is the one thing that I had that was mine and it didn't even take someone a freaking week before they ruined it for me. So I said, "I literally just told you not even 20 minutes ago that it would not hold you and to please not." Sit in it. She makes some comment about usually the weight limit is a lie. I thought it would hold. So I said the weight limit probably would have held if you were only 50 pounds heavier than it, not 150. She is 420-ish lbs because she is one of those girls who eat food on camera for money and she absolutely loves her weight. But regardless, instead of apologizing or offering to compensate me for my destroyed item, she has resorted to saying I'm a shitbag for making her feel like her weight is a problem and my husband is on her side.